Excluding Death Stranding from consideration because it hasn't come out, Policenauts is arguably Hideo Kojima's most personal game. In this brief overview, we'll try to summarize it for those who haven't played it but want to know a little about it in light of the impending release of Death Stranding. We'll also be looking at some of the possible connections between Policenauts and the upcoming Kojima game. So far, Death Stranding's trailers have established a number of strong connections to Policenauts. These elements included time dilation, a love story that breaks the boundaries of linear time, a futuristic task force similar to the police, and medical motifs including childbirth. Even the way we're going to meet Lindsay Wagner at drastically different ages in the game, and the way Sam Porter Bridges seems to be capable of existing across multiple points of time at once, are either literal or metaphorical returns to Policenauts. Clearly, Policenauts has strong relevance for Death Stranding, but given it's never been released in the West, not many over here have played or even heard of it. Kojima would say of Snatcher, his PC-88 game, during the development of Policenauts, that, quote, "What I was interested in expressing was not an original story or world. The world was simply the empty vessel for the activities and lives of the various characters that you meet, and the inexorable fate that they are dragged into unawares. I wanted to present that experience, which can only be adequately conveyed in a meaningful and satisfying way through interactive media. In whatever shape or form it takes, that is the kind of game I want to make again." End quote. Policenauts was a point-and-click adventure game. It incorporated elements from the visual novel and action genres. You played as Jonathan Ingram. A quarter of a century you've just spent frozen in cryosleep, lost in space, following a tragic mishap as a Policenaut, Earth's first interstellar constabulary force. The Policenauts were created to shepherd the first wave of migration onto mankind's first civilian space colony, Beyond Coast. In the 25 years since Ingram's accident, Beyond Coast has been fully quote-unquote civilized. But something savage is lurking under the surface, something only you can dig up. Yonasan begins Policenauts in old LA, back on Earth, or as it's now known, simply home. He's visited by an unexpected potential client, his former wife before the accident, Lorraine. Now Lorraine's married with a fully grown daughter on Beyond. Yonasan has had cosmophobia since his accident, but now Lorraine needs him to go back to space. Like in a good film noir, everything about the setup in Policenauts is rigged from the start. Even Yonasan's accident, where shown, was anything but accidental. Without spoiling the game any further, completely solving the many mysteries of Policenauts will require confronting several people whose fates have been changed forever by Yonasan's accident. One of them, with apparently key importance to Death Stranding given the trailers, is Lorraine's daughter and doppelganger, Karen. In the early years, Kojima would often say that one of his objectives as a game creator was using the medium to explore the concept of fate. Policenauts was a prime example of this. The time compression that Yonasan experiences allows both him and the player to witness and even interact with the consequences of our own fate. Importantly, one of the earliest images we're shown in the PlayStation and Saturn versions of the game is Yonasan's sabotage that happens in advance. This is a metaphor for the idea that, like the boss would be in MGS3, the Policenauts get used, misled in order to be thrown away. But not even the culprit behind the accident has total control over fate, notice. Miraculously, to make this point, and so that we can have a game, Yonasan survives. But Yonasan is no less blind after the accident than before. When you arrive on Beyond, Yonasan expects his old partner, Edo Brown, will be a distinguished hero in the eyes of Beyond, but instead he finds Ed's been fated to become a laughingstock. And then, when you start to feel like the hero out on a righteous crusade for truth and revenge, Yonasan meets Lorraine's daughter face to face, Karen, and Karen tells him that thanks to him and the love for him that Lorraine refused to ever let die, her parents had led a sham marriage. It's ruined Karen's life, but not nearly as much as her serious, life-threatening illness has. It's a bone marrow disease brought on by exposure to cosmic radiation. Karen's illness reinforces the theme of tragic fate. Without giving too much away, another example is with the character Chris, who we see in a photo here from a long time ago with a baby that's no longer hers. The impact on this baby's life from the separation will inform much of the plot of Policenauts. Even casting Lindsay Wagner in Death Stranding is highly reminiscent of Policenauts. In the game, Meryl is said to be the clone of Meryl from MGS. Both are copies of icons from bygone eras. The silent and emotionless character played by Mads Mikkelsen we see in the trailers resembles Tony Redwood, one of the bioengineered eugenics experiments that in Policenauts gets called Frozeners. Frozeners, kinda like Mads, are the ultimate warrior. They're more ghost than man. And of course, in both Policenauts and in Death Stranding, there are test tube babies with some kind of importance to the military. And as I've been trying to show on screen all video, there are a ton of visual design echoes for Policenauts by Death Stranding. Norman, for example, wears at least 2 different outfits similar to those worn by Yonasan. Both a photo that's central to the plot and multiple aged selves of our protagonist's presumed love interests are part of what little we've been shown of Death Stranding. Lindsay Wagner, in one of the trailers, strongly reminds me anyway of Lorraine. In closing, the connections between Death Stranding and Policenauts go beyond a mere hard sci-fi setting and sharing elements pulled from quantum and astrophysics. The one common strand among every trailer has been this: Death Stranding, whatever the specifics, will, exactly like Policenauts was, be about the connections between people and the entanglements of their fates over time. The baby in Policenauts grows up to be a lot less cuddly. I wonder what the bridge baby that is Death Stranding will grow up to be. Whatever the answer, the scenic expanses we've seen in gameplay trailers resemble planetary surfaces. To some extent, it seems that Sam Bridges is a kind of Policenaut of his own. The given objective in Death Stranding is bringing order to a collapsed society. This was something like the job of the Policenauts. Instead of a collapsed culture, their wasteland was the gaping maw of space.